Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tallinn. Estonia has always been known as a very advanced digital country, so basically that's how it looks like. Beautiful. I'm Andrius Gabnys. I am a gambling and gaming lawyer, and I am today with 6 fellow panelists who will help me to speak about online casino industry benefiting or not benefiting from the absence of sports events. The panel consists of basically aggregators, represented by Vadim Slotegrator and Nadiya Nadiya from Relax Gaming. Nadiya, you shouldn't relax. Focus at the panel. Then the other part of our panel is the product developers, the 2 slot developers, represented by Endorphina, and I hope everybody is here, and Vladimir from Evoplay Entertainment. Plus, we have a poker provider, aside from everything that Evenbet Gaming does apart from poker. Dmitry is a poker provider. And we have a single payment service provider, DIMOCO Europe Beyza. Hi. It's a very, very interesting, actually, payment service provider, a mobile carrier payment service provider. That's the first time I deal with that kind of a thing in the context of gambling. That's very, very interesting. So we're good to go. We are set to go, and the panel is actually a question. So it would be highly appreciated if all of you, would go forward with your key views on online casino benefiting or not benefiting, or if benefiting, how benefiting, and how long will that benefit last in terms of the absence of sport events. So I would suggest to start with the maybe Jan Endorphina.
Hey everybody. So as I was introduced, we do only slot games, we supply casinos, so I can talk basically about the shared experience that we have with our customers and about the impact that was in our numbers. So the question is very broad and can be interpreted in 2 ways. If I think about the casino industry and I'm talking about casino product, then I can genuinely say that there has been a short-term spike in terms of activity, number of spins, and also in terms of demand of our product. This happened mainly, as everybody expects, from sports books that were not that flexible in the past, but suddenly the situation forced them to acquire a new product, to expand their portfolio, because a huge chunk of their revenue just disappeared. With this, it came a little bit as a challenge for us, because suddenly we had customers that were not, that did not understand the product very well, didn't know how to market it. They felt like the product just works by itself. You don't have to do anything. It's like, look, use a machine, you put it in the casino, it works. So we had to become a little bit more of educators in this case and show, do like a crash course for the customers that this product can perform well for them in a stable way, because they are used to the sports betting, hit and misses. But in this case, we explain them the basic marketing tactics and uses, and I would say in the long term, for us and for the casino product, this is a benefit.
Okay, so Vladimir, you're a slot provider too. So what's your views?
I fully agree with Jan about becoming in some case of educating in this case, and but from another point of view, I think it's a really great chance for game providers to show to betting audience that, hey guys, there is another way of content. Audience is becoming more askable for some entertainment content, and in some case it is like a comfort zone for them. Okay, we are betting every time, it is a part of our entertainment, a part of our life, and it is okay. But nowadays a bit really hard time, and it's difficult in some case for operators, and it given an opportunity for game providers to show to their audience that there is another way of entertainment, like instant games, like some another way of slot games, and the only way just after you check this, maybe in some case you will like this, and maybe this is something that will entertain you a bit more. So I think in some way, for the main goal for soft providers, for game providers right now, is to show to operators that they need to help to work together to educate the audience, and to show them that you need to test something, you need to check something new, and maybe it's definitely like a kind of future. That's my opinion.
Okay, so the aggregators, both of you, you can actually let's say compare of what you have, what you want to have in your suite. So could you please elaborate about what's striving right now? What's in this kind of context? Vadim, what's your view?
Sorry, can you just revise the question? So you mean what are the struggling points right now for us, or
no, the thriving? What's thriving? Like what's I think the customers, the operators, what do they want right now? Those who do not need to be educated, or even those who need to be educated, what do they want right now? What's what's the selling point here right now? But I think right now we could move to Vadim, because you, Vladimir, you have your own suite, but Vadim has many software providers who are integrated into their service, so they can compare what's benefiting and what's not.
Thank you for the question. Yes, we have right now like 50 plus game providers, and I see a demand for the virtual sports, and even the casinos who won't be interested in, or like maybe betting companies who weren't interested in virtual sports. Somehow they decided to add virtual sports and add like casino section, but it's all regulated. It's all basically comes from the regulation, because some of the betting companies who lost a big amount of GGR from the betting and from the events, basically, they didn't have chance to add something more. For example, if you look for like maybe some Russia, where is regulated only betting, or Australia, or different markets, they have only live betting events, and they can work with that only. So at this point, it's not very like they want, but they cannot add it. If we're talking about different companies and different restrictions where it's possible to add some additional content, then yes, they for sure interested in different opportunities like slots, table games, esports, of course, and maybe some different games. I mean like the dice games. It's possible like Crush, because sometimes it happens when esports company there are many of them, which has only betting odds just for the cyber sport. They want to add a casino. So in that case, they're looking for something unique, and they're looking for something, something interesting for their audience.
Okay, so and Nadiya, could you elaborate on that, because you're on the same segment?
Yeah, I can actually comment on both sides because we have our own content and we're also aggregators, so it makes it easier. Overall, I would say like for us, it's business as usual. To be honest, which I was very surprised at the beginning because we were still growing months and months, year on year. And like for RNG specifically, things didn't change much. So the same amount of customers, the same amount of things, everything is nice, growing, But my personal view, it's a short-term solution. If the lockdown will continue, longer, everybody's going to feel it. But it seems it's easing up, so I think we are in a good spot. It's important it's not continue for a while. I also, I chat a lot with the customers, obviously, and they're all introducing, like what they mentioned, like esport became like really popular. Virtual sports, I heard, but esports, it's really like everybody wants to get it. Everybody's asking, how can we get it? Where to integrate it and so on. So this is something interesting. And again, considering that there is a lack of sports event, they need to replace it to something. We didn't have requests like to educate players about casino. It's something interesting, like what Jan commented, that like they don't know how to use the product and so on. So if they come to us, they know exactly what they want. They know exactly what suppliers they want, what games they want, everything. So, I'm surprised, but also kind of not really, because I remember when there was a recession in 2008, actually the gameplay and casino increased a lot. So maybe it's similar. People are staying at home, they're gambling more. And I also have a lot of connections with the poker and so on. So poker definitely increased. I can see. I talk to people who have a big poker rooms and like B2Cs as well, and they all say that the revenues pretty much doubled for them. And it's an interesting setup, which I wouldn't expect for poker specifically.
Okay, so we have a poker provider, Dmitry. Can you elaborate on that? And what kind of other customers? What are the additional customers that you have? Where do they come from? Obviously, historically, poker is experiences these waves of popularity. This particular wave right now is a bit unusual. So, could you please, what's your views? Where are you getting? Which customers are you getting right now? From sports, from land-based, from online sports betting, or other sorts of customers. Dmitry, I think you're muted.
Sorry, guys.
Hi.
Sorry. So I think so. Right now, as a B2B provider, we are getting new customers from both land-based and sports betting verticals. But talking about poker vertical and poker industrial in general, I see it's controversial. I see two different trends. First trend is like there is a high demand for poker from sports betting players since the things changed early March. So this demand makes influx of new players to poker. Players who never played poker before, players which are interested, which are ready to learn, who are ready to spend some more money on poker. So from one side, that is good for poker because it's very important for poker ecology that new players are coming there. Fish players, I would say. From other side, why it's controversial, I see that many sports betting providers experiencing now degrade of their traffic. That makes also decrease of our revenue of our poker rooms integrated into sports betting providers. So I think, despite of short-term increase of interest in poker, we could see that in long-term, if situation is not changed, that some sports betting operators will suffer, and also all the verticals integrated into their operation will also experience decrease of revenue.
Okay, listen. So let's move to the. As far as we don't have any operator here, it's actually a bit of a. We could benefit from an operator here during our panel, but let's say Beyza, you I think most probably you can comment on the payment side of what do you see right now. Obviously, we talked a bit earlier with you don't profile let's say customers, but you see the amounts, you see the operators who were used, and right now the shift to other sorts of products. What can you comment on that?
So first of all, I'd like to say, yes, we do have customers that specifically offer only casino products. We have bookies that predominantly rely on their sportsbook products. And yes, we do see a spike in the casino-centric operators, let's say, but I would like to agree with Nadiya on her comment that I think it's temporary solution. It's not here to stay. There is much more interest, but I believe that the sports bettors, the category of players that normally rely on sports betting, are there not only for the profit, not only for entertainment, but they're sort of an emotional connection with the sport or with the team that they're betting for, and etc. So it's not going to be just, well, since sports are not available, let me bet on something else, or let me gamble on something else. I don't think that's going to last forever. It's for sure a temporary solution. And in terms of sportsbook revenue, I would like to say that the decrease was not significant. It was not noticeable. The sportsbook operators in our portfolio were very quickly to readjust and reshuffle their offerings. As was mentioned before in the panel, the demand for esports grew, the demand for casino, for other solutions, bingo, poker, everything. So they managed to substitute to cut the losses as much as possible. But yeah, it's not a permanent solution, and it's not here to stay. That's just my opinion.
Okay, understood. So I would like to move to another question, which is quite one of the most interesting questions for me. Is that here, let's say, slots. Slots is a conventional casino game. It's a conventional online casino game. Poker is a conventional casino game. We have those products which are, betting style products. It's obviously the terminology. In some jurisdictions, virtuals are casino. In some jurisdictions, virtuals are betting products and stuff like that. But the terminology is not that important. For me, what's interesting is that can conventional online casino products like slots and poker compete with the betting style products like virtual sports, like the same esports, the betting on live studio generated events, like dealer events or live lottery events? Is that the fight for the same customer, which was a punter on sports? Or you think that there's a room of diversification of those and there's no need to fight over the same customers? I don't know who wants to begin with that kind of a question. Who's comfortable with that? So
I can go maybe. I used to work for B2C. For UK-based company for 5 years.
Okay.
And I believe that there would be some spillover to certain percent, on some companies most probably high and some low, but I don't think one will replace the other one. It's a different player type, it's a different habits, it's a different demand. So on the short term, maybe on specific things, but maybe some percentage, maybe not 10, maybe 15, maybe 25 maximum. But I don't think we can replace sports or visual sport or esports like with just RNG. It's just totally different product and totally different play habits, behavior, and everything. So it's my humble view on the situation.
Yeah, but let's say we have this because the topic is, let's say we're trying to get the customer who is a sports punter. So basically, it's one. Obviously, not all the people are the same. But if we would speak about one segment of players, is there a possibility to compete with these kind, between these kind of products? I heard Dmitry. He was actually speaking about, let's say, shift of the actual sports bookies where poker is integrated. That he experienced the let's say the increase. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm really interested if, let's say, the slot providers think they have to adapt in some kind of a way, or let's say slot providers have to find the new ways to, let's say, train the operators how to market the same products.
Can I answer your question, Andrius? So I can agree with Nadiya and Beyza in some case. Yeah, most players are, from betting point of view, they are not betting just because of profit or just trying to earn some money. Yeah, they are playing because of they are paying and betting because of entertainment only. It is emotional part, but due to UK statistic, it's only about 57%, not more. So other 43%, they just like their entertainment process. They are not connected to exact team. They are not connected to exact player or exact kind of sport. They are just connected to some entertainment point. It is just a part of their life. So okay, here's like 2 hours of my free time, and I need to spend it on playing some games, and they are fun. They are fond of some betting, some at least gambling. And online gambling, it is pretty nice to have the full entertainment in their pocket. So in this case, I won't advise to any soft game provider, soft provider at all to change some strategy if they are on the cutting edge right now. We are a pretty young company. It is only about 3 years, and our strategy of preparing a lot of different kinds of entertainment content based on slots, different kinds of instant games, and targeting different audience. Not just, hey guys, we are targeting only slot players or just only table players. We are trying to provide a lot and testing a lot of different contents like 3D games, like VR games, like connecting different merging realities. And our tests are showing that people even from betting, for example, after betting audience can't bet something, they just come in a big advantage, come to our first RPG inspired slot dungeon, and it's showing a really great results after this. And that means that in some cases, soft providers can compare with this audience. They can compare with this type of content like betting. Not all 100%. I can fully agree with Nadiya, but like something around 30 or even 35%. Yep, I think they should.
Okay, thanks a lot. Other views?
I would like to bring something up because I think the question derailed a lot. I think like the question should be if we even should attempt to try to convince players that love sports betting to play the games. Like you can do attempts once in a while, you can theme your game against some sports. You can use popular sports like football, MMA, you can use rugby. It depends on your operators. But the moment this would become your focus as a slot provider, then you're losing your aim, because your aim are players who want to play slots. And those players will look at the sports games as a gimmick and they will be waiting for a new interesting math model, or opposite, their classical games that they love, just like, they perform the way they want the games to perform. So it's really like spreading too much your resources into capturing like the whole casino. Like I want the whole operator, and that could definitely kill you as a supplier.
Okay. Yeah, sorry.
In some case, I can agree with you, Jan, fully. So it's the part of focus, but nobody rejected or declined an opportunity to keep focus in different audience. You never target only one audience. You can target different kind of audience, and sport betting players who can be like a part of this, and you can take a part of market share in this market. You know what I mean?
Could be, but at the end of the day, when somebody asks me like, who are my competitors, I name companies with the same product, but I wouldn't say like, look, the guys that do virtual sports or the guys that do sports betting are my direct competitors. So again, like if I lose this main idea in the long term, I would be punished, by the market, or by you guys.
Okay, so basically we could move to that point. Turning when the world will turn to, at least I hope, when it get back to normal. What can be retained from that benefit that is there right now. In terms of the attempts that are used currently, like what you were saying, like it's worth it or it's not worth it. Because for instance, I think let's start with Dmitry. How do you believe that this unusual popularity or unusual increase in popularity in poker can remain? After sports is there, after land-based is there?
No, first of all, I don't think it's unusual. I think it's natural, because I think sports betting has very high intersection with poker, because I think both sports betting and poker are like more skill games. So I think it's natural that sports betting players, once they unable to bet on sport events, they started to look around, and first choice for them is poker. So I think because of this influx of newbies in poker we're experiencing right now, I believe that after the lockdown is over, I think some of them will stay in poker and will continue playing poker, and some of them will definitely leave. I can't predict right now like what percentage of the audience will leave and what percentage of the audience will stay, but definitely there will be both cases. So anyway, poker industry in general will benefit in the long term from this influx.
Okay. Other opinions?
Yeah, I will.
Not about the poker.
Not the poker, but in general, I even think that it might be the reverse effect. So I just bring an example. We all got used to travel. So how many of us already thought the minute the borders will reopen, we'll jump on a plane and we'll go somewhere on holidays as well, because everybody is craving for this thing. And it's the same with players. If it's a short-term thing, I think the minute sports would be there, everybody just kind of go back to normal, like straight away. And maybe it affect casino and other industries. But if it would be on the long run, maybe it will get in the player habits and they got used to it. So then they wouldn't be craving like so much, what their old habits back, and it would be actually a positive effect. So it depends how long it will continue, how long the sports would be missing, and also how fast they would be able to pick up the other games or products which are similar to what they used to like.
Okay, thanks a lot. Vadim, I haven't heard from you in a while.
The initial question, I thought it will be for the operators and the overall, like the shares of betting and casino on like some particular project. So I believe that casino right now is like, is doing the best, because if we're talking about big brands with a lot of content like betting, live dealers, slots, table games, and they all like have some different shares, and of course betting has the biggest one, plus it's bring traffic. So right now I believe it's like up to 60% of GGR of the brand is brought by casino section, and the rest, like up to 20-30%, is brought by betting, which is like okay, but I believe that most of the operators, they didn't have like a big growth with the casino section. It's not like they have 30%, it was like 100K and next month it was like 6 million. No, I believe it stays almost the same, maybe a bit bigger, but still, as previously said, yeah, it wasn't enough of time to convince those hardcore betting players to go to the slots and to place a bet, because in my experience, all operators who has a betting has some issue to convert some players with a lot of money who bet some events to go to live dealers or go to a casino and to play like there. So maybe if the pandemic and this quarantine will takes longer, then we will see some results. But at this point, I believe it's like completely different players and with the different interests. So the only issue is how operators show the product, how they work with the marketing, because I can have like all the games, whatever you want, but still have no GGR at all to make the profit.
Okay, Beyza, could you please elaborate on the let's say the age of players? Has it changed right now during the current situation? Because I think obviously you have that situation, you have that information within your company. So do you see the shift of this kind of in age and generation?
To be honest, no. There is no difference in the age. The category remains pretty much the same. There's not a big gender switch. There's not a big of an age switch. It's pretty stable from that perspective. But going back to your previous question in terms of the sportsbook and basically the players that used to rely on one particular product, I'm convinced that this situation, this pandemic, was a bit of a wake-up call for the whole industry. And I truly believe that operators right now are in a bit of a difficult situation. Firstly, they lose all of the sports, all the live events, and then the regulators around Europe start imposing limitations. They start making new adjustments. You cannot deposit more than X amount a week and so on. So it's a very difficult situation for them. And obviously, for them to survive now, it's clear that they have to innovate like never before. They have to come up with a way to make sure that their sportsbook players are still entertained, they're still catered, they're not forgotten, because we know the longer a player goes into the churn, the deeper he is into the churn, the harder it is to bring him back. So I think this is the biggest challenge right now. yeah, I think it's the biggest challenge to keep the sportsbook players entertained before everything comes back.
Okay. I heard one interesting argument during the first session of today's conference, during the first panel from Sergey from Parimatch. And I want to borrow that argument and rephrase a bit and ask you, do you see that kind of a risk? Basically, if a beer lover is exposed to the situation when he's informed that from now on he can only drink beer, at some point he will want to grab a glass of water or Fanta or whatever. So do you think there's a risk of losing the existing customers that you have only due to the fact that they are fed up of the only thing that they have is that product which they actually like, but only because they are tired of the same thing? Is there a risk of losing, for the benefit of other products, for the benefit of other sorts of entertainment, or these kind of things? Because that was an interesting argument. I wanted to hear your thoughts about that.
Well, it's hard to say because you don't have a proper operator here that can give you the life experience. From the point of view that from the feedback that we get from our customers, each casino, based on their audience, uses a product as the water that you mentioned. For some casinos, the slot games are the beer. For other casinos, the slot games are the water. So, and they are mostly focused on poker or sports betting. So this is really most of an audience question, and I wouldn't say that that the lockdown would make people to be fed up with some product. Maybe they will overplay some product, but that would mean like only if the lockdown would be for, I don't know, like 6 months or something like that, So from all what we see in the world, looks like this will not be the case. Everybody is now looking at like, okay, what's next? Will the regulators measures that Beyza mentioned, will they stay? Like that's a big question. I'm sure like that operators in Latvia are now worried that, when is the end of the epidemic? Like when's the date? These things, I believe, are the main concern for the operators and their audience, as mentioned several times. Like the moment the sports events are resumed, the audience will just flood to it. Like Nadiya said it correctly. Like you deny somebody something, the first thing that they see that is offered from that part of what was denied will be the first thing that will attract them. And they will just take it, whatever it is. Hence the Belarusian.
I can just add something to this. The compare with the beer and the water is not the best one. I think the best one compare will be like with the usual game dev players, for example. If you met just a strategy game player, he's playing only strategy game for about 5 years, 10 years. And he just changed in different games, but they are all in the same genre. The same will be here. So if he's just playing all the time the slots, for example, and it doesn't matter that there is something more in another pocket, he will just continue playing on the slots and instant games because it's the part of his entertainment. He like it. The same in some case with the betting audience, but in case they don't have an opportunity and they have needs to and they wish to make some entertainment inside their life in this lockdown, they will just change something. They will check something new, and as I told before, only several like around 20% to 30% they will still play in these games. But after the lockdown, if as Nadiya told, if the lockdown will be around half a year or maybe a bit even less, they just in most cases they will return to what they like. It won't be like with the beer and the water. So I can't agree with these risks.
And before that, they will place a bet for the result of a weather, if we have right now. I would add that I believe that the only issue with this lockdown is the worldwide crisis, and there are a lot of people who lost their jobs. So I believe that there are some players who can disappear basically because of it's like the casino and the entertainment will go like on the second, on the third like line. Yes, the first will be like what's to eat, where to live, and because of that, it's possible that many of operators will lost well their players. But that's my opinion.
I fully agree with you, Vadim. It's like it's the main problem right now for our industry.
Yeah, for
any yes, that's true.
Yeah. Okay, so Dmitry, what do you think of the last question?
Muted.
I think you're muted one.
Dmitry, you're again muted.
Hit one more time because we don't hear you. I guess something's wrong with your microphone. Now you're muted. It tells that you're muting right now. Right now it's okay.
I don't hear you.
No. You try to reload the page, and I think it should be okay.
Okay, let's see if he's back. Yeah, he is.
Hello.
Back. Hi.
Great.
All good right now.
About your question, I don't have, to be honest, any idea about any predictions how it will work further. So it's a bit hard for me. I would add to your previous question about audience age. So there is
okay.
A lot of senior players are now coming to poker. It's very interesting. People who played only live, like sitting together in the tables, now they are not able to do it, and they go online. So it's very interesting because operators need to deal now with people who never used mobile phones or I don't know, tablets to play online poker. It's very interesting. And I don't know, I'm not sure if these people will stay online after the lockdown. So I think probably most of them will return to their habits, playing poker, for example, only in live. Because for them it's like it's more I think there are more hurdles for them to play online poker than benefits.
Okay, so actually what I basically hear from all of you is that you think it's a very short-term, everything will have a very short-term effect, and no real, hard attempts to enter new, let's say, new products, to develop new products, to jump into any, let's say, to aggressively grab a new clientele or stuff like that. Because, in some cases you could read, you could hear at, some providers, some operators, some, other business sectors are trying to grab everything that's there and used and try to in all of the possible ways to retain that afterwards. And from what I hear here from you, everything's like, we'll return to normal right now. Let's benefit a bit if there's a possibility, but if not, that's not. So, as a final note, can you elaborate if I took you correctly or?
I think yes. Yeah, there is no just a sense for becoming greedy and just trying to, okay, this is a lockdown situation. Let's change all the strategy. Let's change everything in my business and let's try to grab another audience. No, that will be fully like Jan told you, you will be punished. You'll be really punished by the market. And it's like, for example, for Evoplay Entertainment, it's just like a kind of an opportunity to receive more loyal people inside, more to receive more brand awareness, to show to some new audience, some kind of new games, some kind of new entertainment content. But it's not like about some aggressive changes. The main strategy, at least from the point of view of software providers, it is you need to be focused on your main strategy, but just keep in mind that there is another situation like situation marketing. It is always something changed in the world. It can be lockdown, it can be some fires, it can be I don't know, anything like oceans, like new animals. I don't know, any situation can be, and markets are changing every day, and you need to have some percentage of your marketing based on this situation marketing, and your business should be like adaptive for the audience, what they are asking for. They're the main criteria, but not be greedy. You can't be greedy anyway.
Yes, I'd like to add something to this as well. In terms of the future developments and why are not all of us grabbing this opportunity to innovate and come up with new products and etc. I think all the operators, suppliers, even us, I think we are all focused on keeping the business as usual, making sure that the operations are running smoothly. Also, the fact that everybody's now working from home, everybody switched their offices, had to do the setup very quickly and be very organized. I think this also took a lot of work, and some of the projects that were in development had to be paused for a minute or two. I remember I joined a few of the other talks, and I saw that operators are just saying, yeah, we're focusing right now on making sure that the business is running as usual. And considering the fact that big customer support teams, like with 50, 70 people, are now all scattered all over the place, and they're trying to maintain the business, it's pretty difficult and it's pretty challenging, So I think everybody's just focused on keeping everything running as smoothly as possible.
Okay. Any final notes from any other guys here?
Yeah, I think this is a nice closing argument that basically anybody who sees the end of this situation understands that you have to keep things running before you can start innovating. So if your basic things don't work, then why should you focus your resources into making big changes on anything? On the other hand, if there is a good idea that you believe that can strike the market in some way, it shouldn't hold you back. But the moment you have this idea, I'm sure like anybody in a company has, there will be a person that will push it through and make it happen. But the general view that I understood even from the operators, as Beyza mentioned, is that they have internal things to deal with, Like we need to keep the people employed. We want these talented people that are working for us to stay with us, and we don't want to cut them loose just because there is a short-term cash flow. Because at the end of the 3 months period, you will suddenly find yourself giving your best people to competitors, or just like having them angry at you. Yeah. So I think this is the main thing. Keep your company with good people together.
Nadiya?
I agree, and also, like, let's be honest, we are from different sides, but we all deliver product to our customers. How many of us received like a request to deliver something which we never heard about? Really, nobody came up with something crazy. We need this product, to cope with quarantine and lockdown. People just want good support, good, continue running the business as usual, and I haven't heard any demand, we need something else, to our players and so on. So everything is the same. Maybe to add some new product verticals like esports or virtual sports if customers didn't have it. But other than that, nobody wanted innovative casino game with some sports element or something completely different, which was not discussed prior to this situation.
Okay, so one could argue that maybe not changing anything, but trying to keep those who came from the land-based environment to online to remain online. So that could be most probably one of the straightforward attempts.
Yes. Because before the argument was always that they wouldn't like to do it, but now they did it once, they tried it. So if I was an operator, I would definitely put a lot of effort into retaining them, because again, we like our habits, but once we change the habits, all you need is basically to retain those habits, and you can get a really good player online because they learn how to do things. They did this first step, let's continue and let's kind of make a foundation strong. So that would be a good one. Yes.
Okay. Final thoughts, Vadim?
Yeah. To be honest, completely. I have a small lockdown on my computer, so I needed to refresh it. So I've missed the question. If you can repeat it.
I think the last question was about attempts of doing something differently than prior to the situation. But I think you heard that because you were smiling.
The last part, yes, I've heard, because it's very, as Nadiya told, it's very difficult to invent something new, and there's also the question of does players need something new, because you can invest a lot of money into something new and it won't work. One of the biggest examples is, I believe, VR casinos. Yes, when people a couple of years ago invested enormous amount of money in that, but basically it was just for the news and for the topics, and that's it. But profit from that, it didn't brought that much profit as they expected, or as much as they invest in it. So I believe there are some classics like slots, like betting, which will work always. So I believe you need to push these sections, and that's it. And basically to work better with your clients, with the retention and with everything. So I believe that's the key. Okay,
so I believe that's the best thing. That's the best position to end up our discussion. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for visiting the beautiful city of Tallinn. Hopefully, we will meet, live at the next event, whatever that's going to be live. Hopefully in autumn. Maybe you have any other information. So good luck and thanks a lot.
Thank you a lot. See you.
Have a good evening.
Guys.
Bye.